Hey man, representation matters, so I'm not even gonna hate on him. Support Dom Hoskins, he's doing God's work, he's trying to teach these devils. But I mean, it's an uphill battle. So let's talk a little bit about the Devils in Miami. Because I have a lot of things to say about this Marcel Goncalves situation. Uh, you know, First and foremost, the BJJ Goons do not condone doing R. Kelly type shit with young girls. Um, and that's what Marcel Goncalves did, yo. Let's keep it 100. Like, the man was teaching a young lady, that was since she was 10 years old. Then he started fooling around with her when she was 16 years old. So he groomed her for years and he got busted and he confessed. He confessed to it. And he's guilty in my eyes. So that's open shut case. That's the facts for sure. The man confessed. That's the facts for sure. Now, that shit happened like 2018, 2019, correct, Nico? Nico's looking up on her phone as we
Oh yeah,
speak.
yeah, yeah. Because somebody posted like all of these beautiful screenshots about it. I thought it was my friend AJ, but it might have been Mo. It was something that Mo had said.
Oh, okay. So let's talk about that though. So for some reason, ADCC Mo, I don't know how to pronounce his last name. So ADCC Mo, Going Rider's sugar daddy, he has a lot to say about this. I don't know why out of the blue this is coming up again. Um, I guess it's because somebody uploaded pictures of Marcel Goncalves hanging out with them, but even those pictures are from a while ago. I'm gonna get to that whole hubbub, whatever the fuck it is, later on. But I'm gonna say this: if you're kicking it with somebody that has self-snitched and said that they're a pedophile, somebody that diddles young children, you're a sicko. I don't care if that's your homie. I don't care if that's your lover. I don't care if that's your friend. I don't care if that's your teammate. You can't kick it with them. All right? Like Griselda Records said, if you hang with a rat, you're a rat too. If you kicking it with somebody that likes having sex with underage children, you are not too far off from doing the same thing, man. I'm just gonna keep it a beam with you. All right? That's fucked up. The man admitted to having sex with an underage girl, and the man at the time he was 31 years old. Okay, so for y'all saying like, oh, in some states the state of statute of limit, wait, what is it? The age of
Statute
consent?
of
No,
limitation.
no, that
Oh,
there's no
age of
statute.
consent.
The age of consent is 16. The man was 31 and he was teaching this girl. All right,
I
so
swear the post that I was looking that had it all very detailed
that's why
got
you,
taken down like
that,
comments.
yeah, that's why you screenshot. But
Gotta
anyway,
keep your receipts. But
y-
yeah, it is wild. Like,
so they're saying that Wagner Rocha was kicking it with them, Cyborg was kicking it with them, and even if like you're friends with his wife and his son, you got to cut him the fuck off. So I agree. They should get slander. You can't kick it with a child molester, yo. There's like, how they say there's worse people than murderers. Those type of people are.
I mean, but I think we've been hearing that a lot lately with a lot of people, whether it's been like this case now, the situation with Cuomo before, like not before, this is happening now too, like with the governor of New York. That's crazy that that could be happening with him, with his brother, that could just be the practice. It happened with Zilahiva. Um, and I think outside of America, it's also a lot, and this doesn't make it accessible. It's a lot more common to find younger women seeking older men, especially for financial stability. So I definitely could see how in Florida, where you have that huge Hispanic, huge Brazilian cultural influence, where like people would go about this and just be in a huge boys club and you know keep perpetuating that. Like we see it with Bill Cosby, he got out of jail. Like there is a lot of cases of, sexual assault or just I don't know. It's just a lot. It's a lot. So it's really important to teach people, like, there's no way to stop them all. Like, we really have to teach women and just people to self advocate more and to be more aware of things, and things like Dwan does, where he talks about gender based violence, but he is not like speaking out to women and what they have to do. He's addressing men and their role in it, and young men, and like, how they can be more open with things. And it's like, how do you hang out with somebody that does this? And I think, as like growing up, when you have that idea of masculinity and what it is to be a man, and when you're in that like kind of group mentality, especially in sports, where you have all that extra testosterone, all that extra growth hormone, it's just like a boiling pot for chaos and like abuse. And it's like, to have it be your instructor, your mentor, someone you look up to. And like, for me, as a woman that's been in a fight house, and it's like, definitely, it's not a safe place like to be. And I've experienced that. So like, you really have to be mentally and sometimes physically strong, and you have to financially be able to remove yourself from a situation. Like, if not, you're very vulnerable.
And another subject on the subject, Cyborg tried to get money out of the guy who actually owned the school that,
Like $35,000
yes, out
to
of the
keep
guy.
the affiliate name, and he's like, nah, I'm good on that. I'm Gucci.
Yeah, because apparently Cyborg thought that Marcel had a right to the academy. And the owner said, yo, I invested everything in here. Marcel didn't invest a dime. That's your boy, but he didn't invest shit. And rightfully so. And if anything, Marcel should owe that guy $35,000 because he almost fucked up his whole gym, because it looks bad if one of the head instructors was a child molester. So that's another thing that he should get buried on. But I have another take on this whole situation. It's not really about them, because Marcel Goncalves can rot in jail. I don't give a fuck. Cyborg's a scumbag. Another thing was a whole like Tex Johnson getting in on the fray, saying I saw Marcel at the gym.
They what
And
about Marcel the gym?
he trained there, and Marcel Goncalves was at the gym, and they trained together, and they got a little tiff. And if you watch our Patreon, you'll hear about the stories of Tex Johnson
Oh yeah,
being at our gym. So
a little
I'm
tiff.
not surprised that Tex Johnson had beef with somebody in the gym. And it's kind of like the pot calling the kettle black in this situation. If you look up Tex Johnson online, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And, that's kind of lame. Like, okay, so you didn't have a problem that he was training there until they kicked you out after you got in a fist fight at practice. Like, would you be saying this if you were still on Fight Sports, Tex? That's all I'm saying. But this whole thing with Mo being like this, all of a sudden, this advocate for women, that's kind of fishy, yo. Like, I think that's real fishy when somebody that isn't really related to the story at all is trying to just get their whole white knight shit in. Like, that shit is super fishy, and it comes off as insincere as fuck. Like, this shit happened ages ago. And yes, the story needs to be told, but why do you have to be the face of it? That just always seems off putting to me, because in situations like this, like we saw with Simone Biles, like we saw with Naomi Osaka, everyone has to make these situations about them. It's always about them. They always want to be on the forefront and have their take. You know what? Half the time, people don't even mention the victim. And then most of the time, people make these grandiose statements like, I would quit the sport rather than let this slide. I have a daughter that's age. This is disgusting. Yo, fam, nobody asked about you. Nobody asked about your kids. Nobody asked about your take, fam. Instead of y'all just preaching to the fucking choir, doing your best white knight shit, how about you do something in your own community to keep this shit from happening, yo?
Yeah, people love to go back and talk about them, and then like how it relates to them, and it's like very hard to separate yourself from the ego, but like that. That's a big one. What about the victim? What about the other girls? How do we stop this? Not necessarily about you.
And keep it 100. Half y'all motherfuckers that be saying this stuff about how what you would do, couldn't do, you got pedophiles in your own family and don't do shit about it. You know what I'm saying? And then like I feel as though like this is a way for people that got a grievance with Cyborg to get their shit off. Like what the fuck does Mo from ADCC have to do with this? And of course, everyone else wants to chime in and virtue signal. And half the time y'all look super messy saying that shit. Like if you're somebody, you ever hear that Shakespeare line, methinks the lady doth protest too much?
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot about that when people that just go off the handle about this kind of stuff.
I mean, like everybody that has having any kind of like interaction or relation, because that's what I was just looking at on my phone. It's like the article that you sent me from Jiu-Jitsu Times. It's a lot of people like, oh, he was never in my gym, and then like, oh, here's a screenshot of him in your gym. And like, oh, like he's never taught classes here, and it's like, oh, but this is a picture of him at a seminar, and it's just like a lot of trying to go back and forth and expose them. And again, it seems like they're kind of like leaving the trial up to social media, and it's like, okay, if this is what happened, like was he arrested, like what were the actual charges, like where is the law, the cops whose taxes we pay, like what about this girl, like has anybody followed up with her? Like that's where like the real issue should be, not in like what the head of ADCC says. It should be more like us promoting maybe like mental health awareness, because I know like I work with at-risk youth, and like the impact on a young girl that was raped at a young age is trying to deal with that. Like Atacola has on his arm, it's like it's easier to raise like a whole child than to fix a broken man. Like,
Yeah, that's my feeling exactly. And that's why I hate social media, because it becomes a witch hunt and everyone likes the fucking virtue signal, okay? And I hate it.
yeah. So
And
like how much has Mo been putting out and paying for therapists for the community? That's what I would like to know, since he likes to talk about himself and how much money he spent. Same thing with Seth Daniels, who is like avid at attacking Hollywood Mike and putting out his money. But like, what about like the mental health for these people that are caught in the collateral damage of your shitstorm, and like you comparing the size of your dicks? Getting like dick slapped, I guess, is what's happening to the rest of us. With the rest of the community, BJJ community is getting slapped in the face with dicks because y'all trying to like measure yours.
well, this has been a very dark episode of the BJJ Goons podcast.
Unless you like that kind of thing.